Hello, this is Eleanor Wyatt of the Binji Ministries. We have been sharing the love of God in Uganda, in East Africa, since 2019. Story time. I want to tell you about a man named Richard. When I first went to Uganda in 2019, I got the idea to help some of the many widows and abandoned families that we found there with the ability to connect them with sponsors here in the West. So I asked in the villages, could I go to these people's homes and take pictures of their house and their families and such, so it has information to share. As we went to the home of Zaria in one of our villages, she lived in a cluster of about maybe a dozen huts out in the bush. And when I got there to take pictures of her house, there were other people around. Well, one was a man named Richard, I later learned. He looked at me with his eyes like, where did this person come from? You see, there's nobody anywhere near this color anywhere around for miles and miles. So it was like a pink giraffe had walked into the yard. And he just stared at me, and I nodded, and I went on to take pictures and talk with Zaria and find out her information and such. Meanwhile, Musumba, my partner, was talking with Richard. When I got done taking pictures of the Zaria's house, he said, why don't you take pictures of Richard and his house too? And Richard spoke a little bit of English, and I said, may I? And he was like, whatever. You could see he was like, there was no hope there. So I took pictures of the house and such, and then his children came out. He had 5, and the oldest, a girl named Justine, was holding the baby, and the youngest toddler, I looked down, and his leg looked awful, and I was like, what happened to this boy? And I learned that 4 days earlier, they'd accidentally spilled boiling water on him. And his leg, from the knee down, the brown skin was coming off in hunks, revealing raw pink flesh underneath. It looked horrible. I asked Miss Summer, go to the car, get my first aid kit. And I'm praying, what do I have for burns? I only had limited things, but when he got back, I had lavender oil, I drizzled that on, and I had antibiotic ointment. So I took that and I took some cotton pads and very gently put some ointment on the wounds. And all the while, the little boy's just staring at me intently. I'm sure he'd never been this close to a white person before, but he didn't cry out, and I knew it had to hurt. And when I got done, I prayed for him. And then all the while, his father's been standing over me, watching intently while I was tending to his son. And afterwards, I had some ointment left and some cotton pads. So I gave those to Richard with instruction of how to keep the wound clean and how to care for him. And then we said goodbye and went on. 10 days later, we're back in the village. My final time before I'm going back to the U.S. That was also the day we brought Bibles to this village. And we had enough Ugandan Bibles to give one to each family so they could read the Bibles. And we had just a few left over. Well, when I'd gotten there that day, there was Richard sitting on the front, where over to the side where the men usually sit, with his little boy Yasel beside him. And he had a big smile on his face. He listened intently as I taught the Bible and shared some final words with the people. And then when we gave out Bibles to the families, we had a few Bibles left over, and we said, who else needs a Bible? And Richard leapt to his feet and said, I must have a Bible. I must. And so we gave him one. And that began my relationship with Richard. He has since become a faithful member of the congregation. He takes notes, and he's kind of like the recording secretary for the group. Well, I left and went back to the U.S. after that day. And it was a couple of weeks later that Richard pulled Musumba aside, and he said, I need to tell you something. The day Mom Eleanor came to my house, I had been so frustrated. My wife was gone, and they had left me with these 5 children. I could not feed them. I had never had enough money to feed them. And then when Yasel got burned, I just said, I cannot handle it. And I'd purposed in my heart to walk away and abandon these children. But then Mom Eleanor showed up, and she had medicine, and she cared for my son. She prayed for my son. And after she left, I thought, who is this God who would send somebody from the other side of the world to come to my house to care for my child? I have to know this God. I have to know him. And so he had come. And that last day he got a Bible and he started reading it. And he has asked Yeshua to be his Lord and Savior, and his life is so transformed. I later learned he was known for always being one who drank and fight, always angry, always ready to fight. That's how he was known. Now, he is so sweet and kind and gentle. The transforming power of the Spirit of the living God has so transformed him. It was not lost on his neighbors. They're like, what happened to you? Where's the anger? Where's the desire to fight? And Richard has said, come and see, come and learn about my God. And he is one of many transformed lives who have shown the light of God to their community, to their village. And we have had literally hundreds of people come to salvation since then, in part because of the change in Richard's life. God is on the move in Uganda. I work in remote villages in eastern Uganda, and we are seeing the Spirit of God at work in those places. People are turning away from false religions, from witchcraft, from paganism, and coming to know the God of the Bible, the one true God. We invite you to connect with us. Our website is thebinji.org, THEBINJI. Connect with us there. Learn more about God on the move in Uganda. And I invite you to learn and to connect with us. And most of all, I pray that you too will find the peace and joy and life that comes from having Jesus as your Lord and Savior. If you'd like to know more, I would love to talk with you. Reach out. And in the meantime, may God bless.